So you know what amuses me about people? People are always in their heads. Their first instinct is self-preservation. So they never take out time to look at people. Yeah. Because for them, the first thing they want to push out is, how do I make myself this? How do I...
People want to be interesting. Want to enter a room and light up the room. Want to enter a room and be seen. But how do you do that?
How do you do that?
I used to call myself my worst critic. And I had the thought cross my mind. And I'm like, being my worst critic shouldn't be a thing that it's a badge of honor. I could create that as a badge of honor that I criticize myself. I'm very big on accountability and holding myself accountable. Yeah. But that is different with being a critic, yes, to myself.
Yes. So when you're overly conscious of what is going on, when you're overly conscious of your presence, you struggle to believe that there's something, so much better out there. So sometimes it takes a lot for me to really believe that it would get better.
When you are trying to lean on your understanding, you are trying to walk by logic, and that's not fair.
When I'm not understanding my faith, I begin to look for how to walk out my, my dreams or my desire.
If we really are asking God of something, is God's interest more on that than our interest? Is it about His name or for our boasting?
I feel like I want to argue with you a little bit.
Okay.
Godly conversations.
You are in the right place at the right time for the right conversation. This is season 2 of Godly Conversations podcast.
Welcome to Godly Conversations podcast. I am Uwem. And today is not a solo episode like you do see only me. I have a beautiful lady in the house and Winifred.
Hello.
Yeah, I like that smile. Can you smile again? Oh, come
on. Maybe I'm blushing.
Are you blushing?
Yes.
For real? You're blushing at my audience or?
Yeah, it's the audience.
Alright, so if you're listening, I have my god sister, my friend, Winifred in the house, and she's here to be a blessing for us to have a conversation that is going to be inspiring. And I believe as you're listening, you're not going to waste your time. Winifred is a radio presenter, a radio personality, an aspiring young woman who has a lot of dreams and things that she wishes to do with her life. And this is just the beginning of your uprising.
Amen.
Yeah, I believe that. So, and I always do tell you that you have a long way to go. Like, you have a bright future. So, and I want you to know that I'm not just saying, like, I really know and I believe that is what I'm seeing, and I don't want you to play about that.
I don't know, for a very long time I've always struggled to accept it. When your chances don't exactly seem promising. I won't say my chances, my situation, my circumstances rather, they don't exactly seem promising. So sometimes I'm always like, this statement, does it have head? So when you're overly conscious of what is going on, when you're overly conscious of your presence, you struggle to believe that there's something, so much better out there. So sometimes it's like, it takes a lot for me to really believe that it would get better. So I had to, put out a voice recording for an advert I did one time. And then, even when people are like, oh my God, this is awesome, I'm getting awesome reviews, sometimes I still struggle to harmonize, my skills with a grade. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Blessing you. So are you someone that doesn't know how to receive compliments?
No, I think I receive compliments, but sometimes anyways, when I'm just looking at things, I just feel like maybe I criticize myself too much, and I just struggle to see the bigger picture sometimes.
Okay, I might like to come in there because maybe someone is also listening and then they are very critical of themselves. I feel like I was that kind of person. Like, I used to call myself my worst critic. And few days, I don't know if it's a few days, but I had the thought cross my mind. And I'm like, being my worst critic shouldn't be a thing that it's a badge of honor.
Yes.
Like for me, because, and I could create that as a badge of honor that I criticize myself. Now, I'm very big on accountability and holding myself accountable. Yeah. But that is different with being a critic, yes, to myself.
Yes, they're different.
Like, I should embrace holding myself accountable, whereby when I do things like when I get to edit this episode, I look back at it, I love what I do, and I applaud myself, I compliment myself. I don't get to be my worst critic. I look at the things I get to do and the things I should do, hold myself accountable, and be responsible for anything that goes off in the wrong place. But then being a worst critic came to me as a thought that I realized that it actually puts you in the wrong place. Because now you have criticized yourself And sometimes people, now, two mindsets, some people do that so that if other people criticize them,
it won't hurt
they'll
them.
be like,
There's nothing I've not told myself.
There's nothing I've not told myself.
Yeah.
Which to me is more about being defensive. And to the other person is like, they're just doing it. It has become a natural to them that they're like, they can't just give themselves grace. And I feel like people struggle a lot giving themselves grace.
Yeah.
But to come back to what you said, and I want you to believe it right here now, even if you've been struggling to say my outward circumstances don't line up with what I hear about me. Nobody that receives prophecy in the Bible that had a circumstance or situation around their life that looked like it.
To really look back at it though, it's exactly like you said. It's
nobody.
Looking at Sarah, looking at Mary, all the circumstances under normal, it will never add up to that.
Yeah.
Virgin birth, excuse you, virgin birth, and being barren for so long. So some of those prophecies it just did not add up with what they were seeing on ground.
So now you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
And I want you to receive it as a prophecy,
Ooh.
if you want to call it that. Because, let me just go here.
Okay, definitely.
Mary and Zachariah in Luke, the angel told Zachariah, you're going to have a son. And Zachariah doubted the angel, told Mary the same thing. Mary believed. But in our English, in reading, you might feel like they both did the same thing. Why did they get different results? Because it seemed like Zachariah was asking the same question Mary asked, but when I checked that out, it wasn't the same question.
Okay, could you throw some light on that?
Now let me read that.
Why am I getting excited?
You should be excited.
For opening the Bible.
You should be excited about the Bible, anyways. Like in Baptist church, they will say, "Rise for the reading of the word." So, okay, that's Luke. I'm going to read from verse 17. Okay, let me read from verse 18, where Zachariah answered the angel.
Okay.
The angel actually told him, you're going to have a son. So Zachariah said to the angel, how can I be sure this will happen? I'm an old man now, and my wife is also well along in years. The angel replied him. Then the angel said, I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. It was he who sent me to bring you this good news. But now, since you didn't believe what I said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born. For my words will certainly be fulfilled at the proper time. Now, I'll jump down to Mary. What actually happened? When the angel went to Mary, this is verse 29. Okay, I will start from verse 28. Gabriel appeared to her and said, greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you. Confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Don't be afraid, Mary, the angel told her, for you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be very great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord will give him the throne of his ancestor David, and he will reign over Israel forever. His kingdom will never end. Mary asked the angel, but how can this happen? I am a virgin. The angel replied, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the baby to be born will be holy, and blah, blah, blah. So now, the whole thing here, the difference, this is what I want to spot out. Now, Zachariah have been trying to have a baby for years. Now he's now well along in years with his wife, Elizabeth, who was Mary's aunt. So, Zachariah's question to the angel was doubt focused. Because he's saying, how can I be sure this will happen? This is, I don't believe you. That's what it means.
Bring evidence.
Now, give me evidence. Show me. And you go, no evidence. You will talk to her, no evidence. So now, Mary came up and said, but how can this happen?
Okay.
Those are two different things. How can this happen is, I want to know the process because it's impossible for me. That's why if you even read down to the next verse, verse 87, for nothing is impossible with God, the angel answered her. So now, like I said, okay, I see you having dreams, like I see you as someone that has a potential to be great. Your question shouldn't be, I don't believe you. If you receive a prophecy, your immediate response shouldn't be, I don't believe you. But it's like, okay, I'm curious.
How do we do it?
How
would it work?
Happen? How would this work out? Okay, I want to believe. Okay, I believe. But even if you don't believe, let me try and believe what you're saying. But how will this happen? Because in my current situation, that was what Mary answered.
Yeah.
I'm a virgin. I've never slept with a man.
I
don't have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the possibility of me being with a child? This kind of magic I've never seen. So that is different from someone that said, how can I be sure this will happen? Which means everything they have told you so far,
you don't even believe.
You don't believe.
So just bring evidence. Let me look
so
at it.
So if you don't give me evidence, then quit talking. And then I think that is the point that a lot of people don't really see the difference between those two statements. And it makes them feel like Zechariah was saying the same thing that Mary said. So why did Zechariah become deaf or dumb?
Dumb.
Why was he turned dumb? Because of, he was saying the same thing, and Mary, is God choosing favor, right? But now it still comes back to the point of faith. Because Zechariah has evidence already. Abraham, he was a priest. He knows the Torah. He knows the law. He knows all the story. He knew that Abraham was well along in years. Abraham was older than him. Sarah was older than his wife.
Yes.
So there was so much evidence. There's so much evidence. So now, in your life or in my life, what are the evidence? What about Joseph? What about David? What was the possibility that David would become a king from the bush? So now, what was the possibility of Joseph becoming the dream that he had? There was no possibility
at
because all the situation and surrounding
circumstances
was just showing like,
boy.
Come on, and thrown into prison.
The most hated among the siblings.
Hated, and so it's like there is no future for this boy. Now it brings us to a place of faith that when I have faith, I don't need to understand. So which means at some point, faith strikes out my understanding. Because you don't have to lean on your understanding. Trust in the Lord
with all your heart. I not on thine own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.
Simple. Lean not on your own understanding. But you know that that's the part that I feel like we struggle the most.
Yes. You are naturally inclined to lean into what is normal to you. To lean into what is exactly.
So now, God is literally telling you, leave your comfort zone. Like you are trying to, let me get the details. I want to understand. Show me the sign. And God is like, there is no sign to show you here. Because if Abraham said, show me the sign, he has never seen anybody that was told, leave your house and I will show you where you're going.
Yes.
Okay, I would say, give me details. From here, where am I going to? Okay, when I get there, what will happen? Okay, after that happens, what will be the next thing? Who am I going to meet? Like, okay, just like somebody looking for work. Do you know give me somebody's number. I need to be sure. I need to get a number. And like, when you are trying to lean on your understanding, you are trying to walk by logic. And that's not faith. And the Bible did not say the just shall live by logic. It says the just shall live by faith. So if I'm living by faith, the main focus is, who said this? If it is God, he is credible. There's credibility in him. He is someone that doesn't play with his word. He doesn't just say something and then the next moment he say, sorry.
I've changed my mind.
I've actually changed my mind. I don't know what came into me when I was saying that.
Leaning into that a little still, there is something that maybe I've battled with for a bit, and it's this: when I'm not understanding my faith, I begin to look for how to work out my dreams or my desire. So there was something this October. There was a sum I kept praying, like I wanted to have that money in my account, but I really needed it. At first, I needed it for some affirmation that maybe God is still listening to me. There was really a lot happening in October, and I was like, if he's listening to me, I want this thing in my account. So and at some point I was even saying that even if it's not the money, I just need to feel some type of assurance that when towards the date I had set out, it was looking like nothing will happen. I decided to go out of my way and help him make it happen. Well, I did do something I regretted, and the most amusing thing, it didn't happen that way. Now, I wasn't hurt that, it just brought back God's supremacy in my life. It made me feel I went to go and rest. but somehow it's like when I went out of my way and I was pushing everything I could to get, and nothing happened, it called my focus back, and in his time, he still brought it to pass.
That's good.
With everything I had, I went to camp, and I felt terrible because at the end of the day, the things I was pushing weren't exactly, they're not things you brag of.
Okay.
Yes. So when I did what I did and it didn't work, I just felt that it was just the sign. That was the sign. Regardless, it still spoke to me. If, it really did speak to me. So I went back
you were part of these people that said, let me go see for myself.
Do you understand?
I'm not going to do. I'm going to go see for myself. Let me try something here and there.
Yeah.
And I want to lean on that. I want to lean into that rather. People do that a lot. Like, I've seen Christians who are so entitled. Like, I mean, in the real sense of it, because it's like, God, if you're not going to do this,
I will find my way.
I'm going to,
That was probably what I thought.
That's conditional faith. That's conditional faith, and that's not true faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith in God is not conditional. It's all in. It's either you are all in.
I think my favorite lesson was as if God was like, you want to do it, or yeah, now.
One thing I love about him is that there's no fight. He doesn't fight you.
Yeah.
Like, the level of freedom God gives us, it makes you know that this is real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, like, personally, it makes me know this is real because I can decide to wake up and go out of believing him, do anything I want to do, right? But then I realized in my work with him over the years that if I've done things by my own way and it didn't work, so why do I keep being stupid? Because that is literally me just being stupid at that point. I've discovered that when I try on my own way, it doesn't work out. So do I really have options like I say I do? Because even if I say I do option, even if I say I do have option, at the end of the day, the consequences of each of it, it's overwhelming, and can't be measured with what I even wanted to get in the first place.
And at the end of the day, those options only work if they are permitted to. Because I believe that this one is sure proof, like a sure banker, but then it's humbled me a lot in the sense that there is nothing within your control.
Yeah.
So it's just best to submit the totality, submit everything to him.
All in. Because at the end of the day, you cannot control anything. I love that. So I love you bringing control into it. Now, I still go back to people that have that conditional faith. Who are so conditional in their faith. God, if you don't do this for me, if you don't do that for me. Okay. And then some people that try to emotionally manipulate God, emotional blackmail. Of like, God, I've been singing for you. I've been sweeping the house of God. I've been serving. I've been doing this. Like, did God ask you to do any of that?
I feel like I want to argue with you a little bit.
Okay.
So in church the other day, our pastor said something about he was trying to bring up the difference between that Pharisee in the Bible that was saying, God, I live a holy life, and then Hezekiah, that when he was told he was going to die, the angel, like he was telling God that, oh, see what I do, what I do. And then he was, I would say, declaring his CV. Would you say that is some form of emotional blackmail? Was he trying to blackmail God?
Okay, like, Hezekiah's case is really contextual. Like, if you really go to the context and the time they lived in, the kind of service they did was different from now.
What's
now in serving God under the law, it was do good and get good.
Okay.
You were judged. In fact, you received favor and blessings based on what you do.
Your actions.
If you don't pay your tithes, things will definitely be tight. But that was under the law.
Yes.
They were living under the law. So the basis of what they did was strictly based on what you do and your efforts. So which means, and that's why some people couldn't get some blessings. And also the level of punishment was also made for any disobedience. Like Achan, they said don't do this and he did it, he collected. So, and that is why I said rightly dividing the word makes you see the dispensation.
Yeah.
They were living under the law. So I've done what the law said I should do.
So this is my
reward. So now I deserve this.
My stipend. Yeah. My stated reward.
This is my salary. This is my wages. I deserve to get this. I've done everything that should give me long life, extend my life. But now, even if you want to narrow in again into that, did it go good?
Not it exactly. Didn't end well. But we're not always tapping into that side of the story.
I know, because we don't want to. We want to, sometimes we selective amnesia, like we want to select what is
in certain contexts.
Yes.
Certain things.
What is beneficial for us.
For this context.
So now, in that context, it's not beneficial for any of us
In the long run.
in the long run. If it's God's will for you to go, then let it be your will. So now, in the context of this Christian that is being emotionally blackmailing, if you're living under this dispensation, sweeping the house of God is not the service. It's a response to the love of God. Now, I don't want to say church service is not God's service. Church service is a response to God serving you, and you want to, serve Him, whether you're serving in the church, but that is not the ultimate, because sometimes they make it the ultimate. It's not the ultimate. As a business person, you are serving God at your business. As a doctor, you are serving at your office.
It's supposed to be all round.
Whichever thing you're doing, you are serving God. As much as, like Paul said, do everything as unto the Lord. That's Colossians 3. Like, it means if I am conscious of the fact that if I'm in my office, the way I deal with people, the way I treat people as a business person, my prices and the way I set prices, I'm being moderate in knowing that I'm honoring God as I'm doing this, I'm serving God. But now, if you miss that, you think that it has to be like, oh God, I swept the church, I'm in the choir, and this and that. Those should be a response to you knowing how loved you are by God, how God has served you, not a kind of a reward. Like, I've done this, God, you're supposed to reward me. That's not the basis for blessing.
So what are the basis for blessing?
The basis for blessing is not dependent on us, God.
It's
dependent on all that Christ has done. He has already, we are blessed with, is it 2 Peter that says that we are blessed with everything that pertains to life and godliness. God has already given to us. Like, we have everything. We have everything that pertains to life and godliness. So which means all the blessings you need in Christ has been released. Are you receiving?
Then how do you receive?
By submitting to faith. Unconditional faith. Not conditional. Now, this is where it's hard. This is where the thing is hard, because the 3 Hebrew boys, they lived in an unconditional faith. They should have said the same thing. God, we've honored you. Like, imagine that they really honored God.
Yes, they did.
They did not bow to the gods, but they would have had a case of like having a case with God. We've honored you. Don't fail me. Don't try it.
Emotional blackmail.
Don't fail me. You know how much the risks we are taking.
But then they said whatever happened.
You know the risks we are taking. I'm going to read that because I always love that. That is where I said, if you say you want to have faith, then just have faith. Because there's no conditions tied to it of like, God, if I have to do this, you have to do this for me as a result. Now, verse 16, Daniel 3:16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. Like, you're talking to a king. We don't need to defend ourselves before you. And then they continued, if we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But, this is the part that blesses me. Even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up. This is the part that I said, that unconditional faith. They would have just stopped by, we know, like that kind of, sometimes we like this boasting, this Christian boasting. Like, we know the God that we serve is a consuming fire. He is this, the El Shaddai, the Adonai, Elroy, this and that. He will come through. I believe him, he will come through. What if he doesn't come through? That is where people's faith is challenged and they're like, God, but you disappointed me. But the whole thing was unconditional in the first place. Because now, you're looking for him. In fact, the way I would say it is, like the Bible, I'll use the Bible word. Paul said, anybody that wants to boast should boast in the Lord. So our boast should be, at the end of the day, whatever God wants to do in my life, I submit to his will. So, like, they decided to say, even if we die, but you see, a disobedience to God, we're not going to do that. But even if he doesn't save us, we believe. So it wasn't a case of them doubting. It was a case of them saying, we believe he can, but we don't control the narrative.
Ooh.
So I believe that he can save me. I don't have control over anything and the outcome. If he decides differently, good.
We bless God.
I bless him. If he chooses to come through, we bless him. It was the same thing with Daniel. Daniel didn't have a kind of certainty that the lion won't eat him. He was thrown in and God shut. The Bible says God shut. He didn't pray for God to shut that lion's mouth. God himself shut the lion's mouth. So, and because at the end of the day, it was not about Daniel's name, it was about God's name. So God's name was on the line. So most of the time, if I don't know, my brain is going haywire. If we really are asking God of something, is God's interest more on that than our interest? Because is it about his name or for our boasting? For we to boast about how much we have faith in God. Anyways, I'm not going to go there again. A lot of Christians are taking a lot of things off of line. And just going back, we just need to come back to unconditional faith. We receive unconditional love from him. He deserves our unconditional faith. God deserves our I don't know what is going to happen. I just follow you, and just so that we don't stay here again. Like I told you, you have a potential. And like Mary, you would respond like Mary. How will this happen? It's impossible from where I am. I don't have control over anything. But if you show me, I'm going to follow. So which means it's about aligning and then yielding.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what faith really is. Abraham moved and said, okay, yes sir. He moved to where I will show you off. And the scriptures in Hebrew blows my mind. Hebrew 11:8 says, he left without knowing where he was going. I'm like, I don't think, because whenever God tells me to do something, I really want to question him to know why, where
it's headed.
When. Like when is it going to happen? So, but I've come to realize that if God tells you to move or do something, put a desire in your heart, just do it. You may not have the answer of, okay, where are we going to? When is the turnaround? You know, I see money at the end of this. When is the money coming? Yeah. So when is the return on investment? Where is that one? When is it coming? So the ROI is not in your control.
And that's the hardest part. Accepting that the ROI is really not in your control. Anyways, that's what I'm taking. That's what I'm taking home. You know, total yielding totally and unconditional faith. Yeah. That's my biggest take home for today.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I will ask you this. What are you musing on? What have you, okay, not now, what have you been musing on that you can share with us?
For a very long time, I've been observing people and their lack of, how do I put this now? So for a very long time, I'm a people person, and I like to read rooms, read the energy, just to understand people and maybe just improve my people skills in the long run. Because as we learned the other day, your people's skills would definitely keep you in some places. Yeah. So sometimes you walk into a room and you're trying to understand. From reading people, you can understand authority figures. You can understand, the power movement in an organization. So I've really just been, preaching this message of understanding or having social cues is a survival skill.
That's good.
It's a big survival skill. What happens when you get into a room? How do people react to you? How do you react to people? Now you find some people, very interestingly, they have this thing, this image in their head, or this idea that, oh, this person has some type of attitude towards me, and it's always a judgment. Yeah. But it's never out of curiosity. Why does this person act this way to me? There was something I learned from you for the longest time, and it has also always been curiosity in place of judgment. Yeah. When you ask questions, you tend to see patterns and understand people better, as opposed to, this person is always frowning with me, and then you now start frowning your face too. But sometimes ask, did I do something wrong? Because you'd be surprised that some of these attitudes could come from a place of insecurity.
That's true.
I remember having an event with some girls, and I was very excited to have them there, but the energy wasn't the same, and I was beside myself. What did I do to them? But eventually I was able to understand that this is coming from a place of insecurity. Yeah. While that is very dangerous to deal with, because it's very dangerous, but sometimes your ability to understand the sponsor of certain attitudes.
Sponsor.
Do you understand? Because some reactions are just maybe defense mechanisms, or in their heads they're just trying to protect themselves. But if you understand the emotion that it is rooted in, it helps you to deal with some of these things better. So I would always point to this book that blew my mind, when we talk about body language, and is this book by Robert Greene, The Laws of Human Nature. It's that book I would say is encompassing, at least on psychology. It does narrow a lot of things down, and you just understand that even as much as, like we discussed earlier today, some people would give certain gifts, and then understand the gift is just just an outward. It could narrow you down to a lot of things. You begin to understand their thought processes. You begin to understand the statement that those gifts are making. It's always, as some people would say, if somebody has, is not, the person doesn't exactly have a pleasant smell, they give to those people deodorant, and sometimes those deodorants are like, those gifts are not always from that place. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, like, human behavior is heavily nuanced. You really can't wrap your head around it.
What did the Bible talk about the human? What did the Bible say about humans? The heart of man is desperately wicked, and no one can know it. So the thing I discovered is that as you were talking, the word that came to me was, when you mentioned the word sponsor, the sponsors of some actions and moods, energy that people give out, because somehow you experience these things through moods, energy and stuff. Some people are not self-aware. Like, there's a difference between self-awareness and self-consciousness. Some people are fully self-conscious. Like, there are two, like, self-consciousness is linked with selfishness. Because, like, it's all about them. So now, how can I read the room where all I'm thinking about is to show off and be seen?
Exactly. So, you know what amuses me about people? People are always in their heads. They're always, their first instinct is self-preservation. So they never take out time to look at people. Because for them, the first thing they want to push out is, how do I make myself this? How do I? And then because they are always in their head, they never understand people. And then it now gives us nobody likes me. It's hard to make friends.
I will say this because I hate this, and I hope anyone that's listening or watching is listening to this. Someone said something very important that really stuck with me. I like listening to intelligent things because I'm sapiosexual in different levels. So, like, if I get into a relationship, I love intelligent people because my brain just picks up on knowledge and I love it. So, I heard this, and the person said, people want to be interesting. Like, everybody actually wants to be interesting. I want to enter a room and light up the room. I want to enter a room and be seen, but how do you do that? Now, the person said, to be interesting, you have to be interested.
Yes.
Like, being interested is not about you.
Exactly. It's about them.
It's about what you said, reading the room. I enter a room, I'm interested, I see someone. Like, I can see people and make them feel seen. Not just like seeing them. So which means I can get into a room and say, oh, you look very beautiful. And pointing out details. I love your hair.
I love the way you speak.
So different little things.
There are several books. You'd be surprised how many people make money off teaching people how to be likable. And essentially, like, we would always go back to the Bible. For you to want to have friends, you have to be friendly. At least it's written in Proverbs. I might not be.
That's Proverbs.
It's written in Proverbs.
You don't need to be a theologian. Don't worry.
But we know it's in Proverbs. And people always like to, put the flashlight or the spotlight on themselves. And then the best way to really influence or win people over is to read them and then, speak about what you've in the kindest way. I've always said the only thing you should be reckless with are compliments. You should only be reckless with compliments. Don't go about telling everybody your intrusive thoughts. No. Back pocket. But for compliments, oh my God, you look good. You can be reckless with that. Not bordering on flattery because there's a point. Yes. But genuine compliments, you'd find that they open people towards you a lot better.
Now, I have a case. When I was in the University of Uwem, I was going to lectures one time. And, as a guy, we were struggling to get close to where. So, because so many lectures, and I'm like, how many dresses am I having? Like, I need to look good. Like, not because you look at other people and they're looking very corporate. Like, people are coming to school like they're coming to work. And I'm like, so sometimes, since I used to bother about that, but I stopped like worrying about that, just wear the best I could. Now, why I'm even sharing this is because I saw one person in my faculty, he was in mechanical engineering, and as he was coming out of the school gate where we enter Keke to go into the campus, this guy, like I can tell, like, he ironed his clothes, the white was standing, he was like looking good.
Yeah,
so
dapper.
But now I was just like pointing it out. I told him, like, you look really good, like your shirt and everything. The way that thing lighten up his mood, it made me happy. Like, we didn't have a time to stand and have further conversations, but just the fact that I could see him and spot that, it made him
and
light up.
Said it.
Yeah, and I said it. So, and like you said something, people don't really get the fact that even in business, it's not about focusing on you, it's about focusing on others.
Of course.
Like, just like, okay, let me even use the simplest analogy. You're selling a kiosk in a certain area and people are not interested in deodorants and you're buying deodorants. You're going to sell to yourself.
Yes.
Like, anything you are selling, you sell based on what people are interested in.
And the needs of
the
environment.
Needs of people. What are people demanding for? Okay, somebody comes and says, I need toilet tissue. Today they come again, tomorrow you didn't have. Get the toilet tissue and then you see market from there. Somebody comes and says, oh, do you sell this? And you say, oh, I don't sell that. I don't want to sell that. If it's about you, so now you make it about price.
Yes.
I don't want to sell that. That's not what I sell. That's not my line.
And you will stay there and nothing will leave that shop.
You sell to yourself. So, because you made it all about you.
Yes. You know, there is no, if you really look at it, there is no field that human relationship doesn't, influence maybe except those people that are mixing chemicals somewhere, lab coat but every facet of understanding human beings, you understand their needs. I feel like at the end of the day, it always starts from a deep affinity towards people. It always starts from empathy. It always starts from compassion, not pity. Empathy and compassion. And then you look at people, you're curious. You're never the one to point fingers. And then from that, you begin to pick up on people's cues. You begin to pick up on what they like. You begin to pick up on what they lean into more. I don't know. I come into a place and I like to, oh my God, I might just be in the corner of the room and then I just really like to see what these people are like. You'd understand some of them. And when you get to understand people better, at least I would give a testimony that where I work, people would say, oh my God, you've earned favor. It's not exactly favor. It's me understanding people little by little by, and winning them over. Favor could come in, yes, but you come to a place and then you have so much love for these people. Eventually, it really just, it announces itself.
Yeah, but if I want to talk to that, right, you actually attract the favor. Because you can actually also push away favor.
Yes.
With the same knowing how to, manage human relationship. You can push away favor. Favor comes to you, and then your what you've learned so far and how you've grown in your life, being able to have social skills and know how to relate with people, now attract the favor. It's an attraction. So now you can be someone that, okay, let's take for example, you're a very rude person. You don't smile at anybody. You don't smile with anybody. So you carry your issue on your head anywhere you go. Everybody sees it on your face. Yeah. That you are always having issue. This person is like, whether you're fasting, I don't know, but you're always someone that has issues. Definitely, definitely, like, this one is not even spiritual. On a normal level, somebody that would even greet you is even scared to greet you.
And let me tell you what interests me about those people the most. They will go to church or wherever they worship and pray against enemies, not knowing that they are their they are their first enemies.
Yeah, their worst enemy.
Oh my God. Every enemy that is pushing me for promotion in the village.
So now we can even go, we're not trying to push back on their real enemies.
Oh, definitely.
So that's not what we're trying to push back on. But in this context, it's just about the people that are their inner me is their enemy, like their inner self. Because like I mentioned, self-awareness, most people are not self-aware. You mentioned empathy and compassion. Anybody that's not self-aware doesn't get that, doesn't have that. And there are people that outrightly say that they don't have compassion on anybody. They can't have compassion. That people know what they are doing. When people say that, sometimes I try to lean into curiosity because I want to understand what do you mean. If you mention the context, I can get that. But if that's your general rule of life, people know what they are doing. So which means there's no room for mistake. That's what you mean. There's no room for people to be human and, just miss it somehow. There's no room for people to react badly so they know what they're doing. If that's what you mean, I don't think I agree to that school of thought. So now, which means we need to introduce you to being more self-aware. Are you always perfect?
Nobody.
You always know what you're doing. Sometimes you do the best thing with the best intentions,
and then
then the results didn't come out.
So bad.
You're like, that's not what I meant. That's not what I wanted. Like, that's not. But now, because you're self-aware, you now can push that to empathize with other people. That when something happens or when someone does something or blows it, you're like, let me put myself in their shoes. That's empathy. I'm like, okay, I could also be this person. I could also make this kind of mistake.
Oh my God, the most amusing thing about life, is that you are not so far. If you really look at it, those, actions and whatever you're judging people for, you are not so far from those things.
Definitely.
All I was saying in the office the other day that the only thing that separates people that are, able and from those that are disabled is an accident. You'd be seeing how, people are, react to some of these people that maybe are on wheelchairs or they're deaf. Is one accident away. So if you have this understanding that to Paul, the only thing that differentiates or that stands as a gap between people of any divide is just maybe one small silly mistake, and then you're at the other end of the divide. So that takes us back to self-awareness, like you said. When you're aware, you have more love and more compassion.
Empathy comes out naturally. Compassion towards others. Now, the scripture that came to mind was, "Judge not." Matthew 7:7. Judge not that you be not judged. Because I always do tell people this. When you are judged, how do you feel? Like, when you are judged, how do you feel? Genuinely. Somebody judges you. You clearly know they are wrong. Even if they are not wrong, let's say they are right.
You still feel some type of way. How do you feel?
Nobody feels good for being judged. Because even if they may be right, you are like, but that is not what I really wanted this thing to turn out to be. So, like, maybe you just intentionally did something bad, but you might have wanted a different result from the result you got. Now you've gotten the judgment. How does it even feel to you first? Then you now align with the Bible. If you don't like being judged, then that's why it says don't judge. So that you won't be judged. If you know it won't be good, the feeling of judgment won't be good on you. Okay, now if you want to be someone that is full of your ego, full of yourself, you'll be like, I can never do anything that anybody judge me. In fact, if they judge me, that's their business.
You know the worst thing anybody can, because at the end of the day, from every angle, you could pick up lessons and really just change. But someone that is battling with pride, oh my God. If the person has gotten to, has achieved some level of success, and you will never, if you fall, you will not have soft landing. The people around you don't exist anymore because your head is impenetrable. Nobody can talk to you. I would find it one of the...
Scripture already says it, like, haughtiness leads to fall, pride leads to destruction. So, pride leads to a fall, haughty spirit leads to destruction. All of it, like, it's not, even the Bible warns against being friends with people that are full of pride and anger and all of that. So to me, when I look at it, I'm just like, for you to be able to be someone that gets into a place and then you can be interesting, because that's what you really want. You want to be interesting. You want to make impact. You want to create an influence. You want to be seen in an environment. Be very interested in other people, like, which is the element you gave, empathy.
A genuine interest.
Genuine interest. Because like, that's you. If you can't use empathy and not have genuine interest.
Yeah, we're talking of when it's sponsored by empathy, because at the end of the day, one message I've always preached is that the best yardstick or the best judge of morality is probably going to be people's intention, never the action. Because at the end of the day, you could do something right with ill-conceived intentions. You just have something you're cooking up. So when you have like a genuine interest in people, I'm probably still buttressing what you said, but there's a way you spot people that don't have genuine intentions.
It's clear,
not for everybody apparently.
Though I know.
But sometimes, like, people are just so curious as to, what's going on. And at the end of the day, you can spot people's genuineness, not even from facial expressions and not from prayer points. Sometimes you spot those things from the circumstances going on in their life. I don't know how to illustrate this properly. So sometimes people would have some type of sudden interest in you. Emphasis on sudden. Maybe you've been existing in the same workspace you've been, and then the interest is so sudden. It could be to, further some type of political career. It could be to use some of your ideas for something. Because at the end of the day, like, you clearly, the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Yeah,
and when someone is demonstrating some type of interest, you somehow just feel, oh my God, you feel loved. And it's one way people take advantage of other people. That's probably what I was just trying to steer the conversation into. Okay. The knowledge that people, as much as, we're preaching empathy and all, people still use this for very malicious intents.
People use it to manipulate and control and do all sort of evil. The scripture doesn't call us to be naive. And in fact, when I read Proverbs, it really blows my mind. Sometimes it slaps me a lot, and it's like, sometimes it's giving me elbows. Sometimes it's like it's a punch. And I'm like, I don't like, but I need it.
Yes.
Because it says don't be simple-minded. To be simple-minded is foolishness. It's actually stupidity.
Yes.
Now, the fact that somebody is interested in you doesn't mean you fall for it, right? It's something I always do say, which is something I would record an episode about. Trusting people is not your job. Like, and that might sound very hard.
No, but it's in line.
To some people, it can sound hard to them, like, why can't I? Now, people want to be trusted, but some people are not trustworthy.
Yeah.
So you can only trust people that are trustworthy. And my own case has always been, let people show you that they are trustworthy before you give them. Trust is an investment. And that is why anytime somebody breaks your trust, it's like you lost a big amount of money. Like, it breaks your heart. It shatters you. So now, it means whenever you want to trust, don't give it out. Somebody just came, I'm interested in you. I don't trust you. I get to figure out, allow time to flesh out. In John 2, the last verse. Let me not even say the last verse. Let me read this thing.
See me clapping my hands.
Yeah. Let me read this thing because, when I discovered the scripture, it really changed the whole game for me, because now the same way you're talking about this whole thing about people, trying to know people who are coming with malicious intent. Jesus, because of miraculous signs Jesus did in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration, many began to trust him. Now, this is Jesus' reaction. But Jesus didn't trust them because he knew human nature. No one needed to tell him what mankind is really like. When I read this, I'm like,
what translation is this?
NLT, New Living Translation.
It's so profound.
When I read this, I'm like, okay. So which means somebody can decide to trust you based on how helpful you are to them. Somebody can decide to be interested in you because they see a potential of what they can get from you. Which is, they can be very parasitic. And just attached to a host that is willing to give. And I listened to Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she said, as a giver, be careful because takers don't have limits. So now, people can align with you because you are a giver. And I read Proverbs again. It says that rich people have many friends. And the reverse of that is almost like insultive. But it says that poor people, even the people that were their family, reject them. So I'm like, yeah, but forsake poverty. Don't align with it. Just pray for God's blessing and work hard. Because poverty makes you lose friends. Of course, it was just giving natural wisdom. If you are poor, people don't want to align with you. People don't want to associate with you. Your word is not recognized. Your wisdom, even if you're wise, is not recognized. That's why we have professors in Nigeria who are professors, but because they are poor, nobody regards their wisdom. They can only use their wisdom and dump them. In Ecclesiastes, it talks about the evil under the sun, whereby a wise but poor man gave advice, and the king used it. It saved the nation from war, but later it was forgotten. Why? He was poor. So now, I digress because just purchasing the point that rich people have more friends. Why? Because of what they have to give. So now, because of whatever thing you have to give, maybe love to pour out, gift to give, or because it doesn't have to do with material things, it can be anything. The potential of somebody seeing about you, and they're like, if I attach to this person, if they blow, I mean, like, so now they are attaching with you with ulterior motive. And the only thing I would tell you or anyone is that don't fall a prey to that, because you're not supposed to be naive. Jesus knew clearly, just like the people that came to him after he gave them bread to eat, and later they came again to eat bread, and he said, now bread, can you come? I know. And they said, okay, you don't catch me. So what do we do to do the works of God? They said, believe in the one that they sent. So like, the clear thing is that people, we did clearly mention, and the Bible says that the heart of man is desperately wicked. People only do things that will be to their advantage.
I've always said nothing goes for free.
Yeah.
Nothing goes for free.
Because on a natural plane, that is it. Mm-hmm. Until you really find kind people, compassionate people who do something and they don't request anything back. But it's rare, right?
You know, the thing about request, they might not have to request. Mm-hmm. There are people that just very casually prey on your conscience.
Definitely.
So nobody's even going to tell you, why not? I did, but they'll just sit down and
yeah, it seems like you have a lot to say about it.
Maybe because I've seen firsthand how people manipulate people so much, and then something about that really hurts me. But at the end of the day, in every relationship, I feel like my closing remark on that would be, in every relationship you're entering, I've always had it at the back of my mind that nothing goes for, you would always give something one way or the other. One way or the other. I've always pushed that you would always give something. But eventually, like, the end result of that thing, is it something you're willing to sacrifice? Is it something you're willing to give? Because if you really take down some of the actions of people and then you look into it in the long run, you would see what they would gain. You would see what they want. If you're intentional about it, because actually you can point it. Mm-hmm. There are some people that will befriend me, and I understand that they are befriending me because they know that I win friends easily. So if the best people to befriend me are people that have political oh my God, because I can easily set up a campaign. And once I'm the face of that campaign, we know that you would actually.
That's good.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And if we even want to talk about marketing something, we know I have marketing ideas. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did have friends that leached off some of my marketing ideas and, did sell off, like, essentially, say they were my ideas. I could let them go because I would generate more. But in the long run, they're just things that, people would manipulate off you. So
you get to learn that, like I said, some people, let me not use generally, some people attach to you because of what they can get from you. And then when you see someone who is your friend, without wanting anything from you, the best kind of friendship is a friendship that both people are willing to pour into each other to give, like with relationship. It's about, I'm here to be of your assistance. Like, what do you need? I want to help you. And the other person says the same thing. Not the other person says, oh, so blessed.
I'm so happy to be here.
Like, I don't know, without you, I don't know what do you mean by that? So to me, I go back to the words of Jesus, like, he knew what was in human nature. And I always do tell people, the heart of man is desperately wicked. Even you have evil intentions sometimes. Yes. So that is what clearly means. Talk about the melancholy of the human nature. Because at some point, doing evil is so easy. But doing good is what is hard. Before you start questioning why are people like heartless, it's easy to be. And I always do say, the easy way out is to be wicked. The easy way out, because that's, you can easily align with that. But doing good, loving is harder. Hating is so easy, clean.
No.
Especially if you have a reason.
It's very easy to love with wicked intentions.
That is still hate. Now that is still someone with ulterior motive. They call it love, and you think it's love. They know why they are coming. Because that's why it talks about the heart of man is desperately wicked. It's a part of wickedness. Because somebody says, I love you, and they know they don't mean it. They know they're trying to take advantage of you, but they want you to believe them. And by the time you trust them, of course, you've bought in, you've actually subscribed. So that's your subscription. You've subscribed. Your trust is a subscription. Mm-hmm. You've subscribed. Now they can use you. And that is where I always do say, for myself, loving is free. Mm-hmm. Trust isn't free. Like to love people, even scripturally says, love people freely. But I've never seen a scripture that God said, trust anybody. He said trust him. So which means
Trust in the Lord.
even when it comes to human relationship, trust God that even the partner, your husband, your wife, trust God to lead you, that this person will not hurt you in a way that you will not come back from it. Like, it's, even in doing good, the Bible says trust in the Lord, Psalm 37, trust in the Lord and do good. Which means, don't just move about and say, I'm an empath. And
I trust God.
He says, trust God and do good. Let it be that, God, I'm trusting, as I'm doing this, I'm doing it as unto the Lord. In everything, Paul said it, do it as unto the Lord. So, I'm trusting God to do this. Which means, I'm trusting God to protect me. I'm trusting God to keep me. I'm trusting God that whichever way this thing turns, it won't come to my heart.
Yeah.
Now, I would bring Joseph's case here. I would say that is the example.
Mm-hmm.
They sent him to take food to his brethren. It was not a bad thing to take food to his brethren, but he ended up in harm's way. Does that make us say, I'm never going to take any? No. It shouldn't. It doesn't make us make a resolve.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, we trust in God because he never lost that. God actually used what the enemy meant for evil. Of course, himself told them, you meant it for evil. God meant it for good. So God knows how to use even the worst situation. Oh, because someone might be complaining, I've been kind to people, and people are just outrightly wicked. That's the human nature. And they are deciding to lean on the easy way. Because, like, even when it comes to, I was thinking about relationship. Yeah, but it's easy.
At the end, as much as it's easy, but one thing I've always faulted or flawed in a lot of human relationships and whatnot is that a lot of people are so short-sighted. They never think of the long-term implications. So they go about duping people in business deals. They go about hurting people, and it's like sometimes to the untrained eye, they would always feel like they're getting away without consequences.
They feel like that's being smart, though.
They feel like it's being smart. They feel like they're doing things that wouldn't,
Yeah. And they feel like they will always get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's the short-sightedness. Because the thing is that they are very puny in their mind. Their mind is very small. Like, truly, their brain, the capacity is very small. So that is why they are even thinking that way. And anybody that's knowledgeable at all and has lived life for a bit knows that nothing you do, in everything, everybody will pay for everything they do. Like, God cannot be mocked. Whatever you sow, you reap. Is a principle in life, is a principle in agriculture. If you sow beans, you will not reap rice. You will reap beans. If you sow corn, you will not reap pepper. So like, it's so clear that whatever thing you sow, and which is why do unto others what you wish them to do unto you, is a principle. The golden rule, that's what we call it. And I discovered that in a very, I do like sharing this. And I'm using word that I was like, God, don't tell me that because I don't want to hear that. But then I had to submit to that. What came to me was, sometimes you don't know what you don't like people to do unto you until they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do it, you don't like it, don't do it to any other person. That's your lesson. That's your lesson. Now, I discovered, I don't like this. Why would they do that? Okay, just like the nonsense analogy though.
Mm-hmm.
In school, primary school, I could remember some people when they're like, somebody stole their pen. And they're like, I will steal everybody's pen in this class. I will steal everybody's pen. We all did that. I will pick everybody's pen. Like, but now, what have you end up doing? You didn't like it. So you are doing to others what you don't like them to do unto you. So, to me, that is just a silly analogy, but it happens.
It's not silly.
I'm just saying that's the easy, like the simplest I can think of. Because it happens in every area. Like in relationships. Okay, somebody hurts you. Because sometimes people even do this without being self-aware. Mm-hmm. Going back to what you said. Now, you went into a relationship. Somebody broke your heart. And immediately you leave to another relationship. You are inadvertently going to hurt someone and bleed on that person. That is wickedness. You didn't like somebody doing that to you, but now, because the energy you bring into this new relationship is with guardedness, everything that's already, if you are really self-aware, you would know that everything you're coming in with will make this thing not work. Mm-hmm. Because you are guarded, you are hot, you're still bleeding, which means you're going to bleed on this person. Why not take time and get to heal? Sit with yourself and get your stuffs. I don't want to call it. Get your stuff fixed. When you fix yourself, then you can now know if you are ready for another relationship. But because you are afraid of looking into yourself, you're looking for who is a doctor. No other human is a doctor to heal your heartbreak if you're not really willing to do your work. So now, you now repeat that cycle. You do unto others what you didn't like done to you. Because at that point, you've tuned into your self-consciousness. It's me now. Now I don't need to think about anybody else. So I didn't ask for him to come. He's the one that decided to say he wants a relationship. I've been telling him I'm not ready for a relationship. He said he doesn't. So I've told him he didn't like. So anything that will happen to him is so, and it happens on either side of the coin, whether it's from the male or the female. And to me, I just see that as wickedness.
And you're constantly you're making a lot of people walk around damaged.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it really causes
so
a ripple
because
effect.
you were damaged, you want to damage other people.
And then those other damaged people that don't correctly deal with their baggage,
they keep spreading.
everybody keeps
giving.
When us be seeing men as come every Saturday.
Yeah, and now we now come to a place in society whereby we say, what is wrong with our society? But you are a contributing factor. You're complicit to that. Because you are not even in your own small space, you're not doing what to make it good. You'll be complaining about relationships. You don't have integrity. Clearly, you're not a loyal person. Okay, as a man, you're not loyal to your partner, you're not loyal to your wife. You want to be promiscuous. And you want to blame it on, this is the male nature. That male are whatever. They are promiscuous in nature. Polygamous in nature. Whichever word you want to use.
At the end of the day, it doesn't just affect the bride, it affects the other people that you're also like visiting.
Definitely.
Those are that. And at the end of the day, it has kind of damaged the way people view marriage.
You're right.
It has made, some people I know swear they'll never get married because at the end of the day, both men and women have unconsciously damaged themselves and damaged the single folk.
You're right.
And you'd even pay attention to the body language of some of the people that should be role models around you, and then you're not seeing proper examples.
There should be.
There should be.
Yeah,
when you're around some people and then maybe you have some type of respect, maybe for their work ethic or something, and unconsciously you place them into role model, and then you're just not seeing those examples you should see in marriages or children raised from broken homes. At the end of the day, everybody just goes out and then they push those narratives onto other people.
When you talk about, we won't have time, you have to come back with this, we can deal with this part. So that's why I don't want to go into it. Every family and every person that wants to become a father or a mother has a strong responsibility. You're pushing out a narrative to the culture. The society is a makeup of your contribution.
Yeah.
You've contributed. Because the child you push out there with the narrative you presented to the child, whether it's that of abuse or you and your husband abusing each other, and you've traumatized the child, giving them a first-hand experience of something negative, you're pouring it out there to the culture. So which means whatsoever experience you're pouring out, you're complicit to everything that happens in the culture.
Yes.
And to me, God started the family, and because when I did social studies, like the nuclear family, the father, the mother, and the children, then it comes to extended family, but the family starts to form a society.
Yes.
Then the society, it keeps spreading to form nations, countries, or whatever, or regions, but it starts from that family. And people are not taking accountability in even the thought of, okay, I want to start a family. Or your idea, if it's about just the Facebook baby face of carrying a baby, oh, my baby, oh. It's not about being good looking on camera.
It's more than that. There's something I picked up from a guidance and counsel, like one GNC woman, and she told me, sometimes women tend to stay in marriages that are very toxic because in their heads they're doing it for the kids. And then she did say something that struck me. She said that the girls need to see a perfect example. I wouldn't say perfect, but they need to see a good example of how a proper example. Thank you very much. A proper example for how girls should be loved. And then the boys rather, in that home, they need to also see a good example on how to love their wives. So if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're staying there because you end up traumatizing them, it's doing more bad than good to any child. And she said it, and it blew my mind so much.
I believe it because now I share in that same mindset. It's better you had left.
It's better.
It's like, I know everything is case by case, because there are so many angles to this.
Yes.
Like, I listened to, a psychologist said something. that a child can come from one family, like different children from one family, they have different experiences. Same parents, different experiences. So we get that can be something that is contextual, but being in a negative place impacts other people that you are influential to negatively.
Yes.
Because you have subscribed to say this is your normal. Now it's almost like you're sending a signal to their brain and everything that's wiring them, like this is the normal. Beating you or beating your wife. And instead of you creating an example first an example, which is why I'm actually on what the Bible says. This is why God says parents, mother and father should be in the life of each child. Mother and father, which is male and female. Why? Because a male or female child needs to see both examples. For a female, needs to see how a man loves a woman and see how a woman submits or respects a man, and both ways them respecting each other. For a man, I need to see how my father loves. It teaches me how to love, and see also the type of woman I would like. Because most times, like it's proven study-wise that men marry their mothers, or they aim to marry their mothers. If they love their mothers, they want to marry a woman that is like their mom, maybe the aspect of their mom they loved. So what if you can get a proper example of mother and father for all the children, that you can say, okay, I would really, so that when you say we really like somebody to be like my mom, it's like, what do I use? It's kind of like on a scale of saying excellence, it's not something that is far-fetched, that is like your mother was traumatized. You can never find a woman that wants to be like that. But it's kind of like this is proper for a woman to be like we have in the Bible, the Proverbs 31 woman, the Ephesians 5 man, and all of that. You can have like, this is an example this is an exemplary life to be learned, to be studied, that if I can see a woman like my mom, it will be a good thing for my life. If we can have such example, it makes society become a better place. But we don't have it. And it's the sad part. Anyways, if you're going to stay here, we can stretch this, but I'm going to ask you one other question, which I've been curious about. Like I do tell you, sometimes I like bringing younger people close to me. Not because I'm that old, but now why I do that is because when I was younger, I didn't have people who were older, who I respected, draw me close. And there was a distance, kind of like the way their life is set up, can't even approach, can't get close to them. They can't talk, they can't share, because somehow maybe they even feel like my brain can't take.
Yes.
Yeah, they feel like they are too high up there. So they are the highest. And now I can't even compete. So personally, because that did haunt me in a way. And I'm like, when I have the opportunity, I want to do what I didn't have. I want to give what I didn't have. I want to do what I didn't see. So I like bringing younger people. And sometimes it makes me curious of what are the struggles that you as a young person in your 20s are experiencing. What are like the real struggles of your life?
So sometimes I would dare say some of us still struggle with defining or grasping our identity. So sometimes it felt like a struggle really identifying my personality. And you'd always see some, you know who you are in Christ, and it sounds like a theory. It doesn't really sound so practical. There are certain things you hear or you read about in the Bible, and then you find some level of resonance with it. But sometimes you just really struggle to have a full understanding of who you are. It might not be general to us,
I get you.
But sometimes, as in to all young people, but sometimes I really struggle to understand, totally understand who I am, where I'm going to, like where I'm going to. Sometimes it still feels like, the path is still blurry. And that is probably the biggest fear. It's like, if the future looks bleak, bleak makes it sad. But if I'm really not seeing the full picture, that fear of what's ahead.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and you're just not seeing the full picture. That is also something I really struggle with. It's like, but the most beautiful thing I would say that happened to me this year is that somehow, maybe God has really been revealing, a little, like, little specks, and then I'm having a little idea. The picture is not complete, but pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
Beautiful.
So at least, like, I've been grateful that last year was so bleak, and I was always like, when you're like, do you even have any talent? What's your contribution to life? What's your contribution to society? And then 2024 was really blurry. Yes, I graduated, but I think October, when I did, it was probably the darkest period of my life. I was going through a lot of, I remember getting across some of my journal entries, and it was just me writing, fear of, uncertainties, and really not just understanding a lot of things I'm really doing here. Now, there were activities that I had been doing to just fill up the gap, but there was still some level of emptiness.
Yeah, literally.
But this 2025, we bless God, we've been getting, I've been getting some ideas, I've been getting some pieces of the puzzle, and while I'm putting it together, I'm praying that God just helps me to see the brighter picture. It does give me some level of hope, and there's just something to look forward to now.
I love that.
It was, ending of this year, I started on believing that maybe there's a future somewhere. Maybe there's somewhere we're going. So that's what I would say has been like my biggest leap in 2025.
I love the transparency.
It's been my biggest leap in 2025. Then another thing I would say, a few friends struggle with would be some level of comparison. And, some people would tell you that, comparison is good, because sometimes it gives you like some level of, this is where I should be aiming. You're looking at people that you would call your mates, and you're like, okay, so this person is doing this. Why am I not doing that? So some people would be of the school of thought that sometimes comparison helps you to, focus yourself and give yourself certain goals. But at the end of the day, so there was a conversation I had like maybe a long time ago, but it never left my head, where this lady told me that when you compare yourself with somebody, you're comparing your weaknesses with their strengths. And you know why that thing? Because I was at the peak of, yes. So I do have friends. Even I would say I've, when you're saying things like, but God, what classmates?
Yeah, I guess so.
We're doing the same thing. What are they doing that I'm not?
Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel like you might even be working harder than these people.
Okay.
And then it's like, it's very frustrating when it feels like nothing is adding up. And then we've come to the end of the year, everybody's crossing their T's and dotting their I's and cancelling what they've been able to do on their to-do list. And you might see a long list of goals, and the only thing you cancelled out is that you stayed alive.
And that's an important part, right? So if I might jump into that, just to start from this and where you ended, that's an important part.
Staying alive.
Staying alive. Now, I was tempted to go to the Bible, but we don't really have time. Job, with everything that he was going through, he appreciated the fact that as long as he's alive,
as long as there's life,
there's definitely hope. Sometimes we find it hard to believe some of these things, but one of the greatest quotes I heard is that we live life forward, we understand it backwards. So you don't clearly understand life as you're moving forward. You would understand in hindsight. Hindsight will be your best teacher. Like when I look back at my life, like I understand some things. And I can tell you some things right now. We were going through a transition period last year, finishing school. So there were high hopes of like, once I'm done with school, expectations of like, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. So now you transitioned, things totally went off script. Like, nothing worked out on your script. Definitely. Why wouldn't you be confused?
But you know the beautiful thing here, like you said, you really understand life in hindsight. It was much recently I started understanding the reason I chose mass comm as a course. Oh my God. It was much recently I started discovering that I had a lot of other talents. So, we bless God anyway.
So that's a beautiful part of it. So, and the only thing I do always say for myself, because I've learned it, nobody has figured life out. No single person, no matter the age. They are just learning as it goes.
As they go,
So, you are 40, you've not figured out. 50, not figured out. Rich, not figured out. Because if you figure out, then that should have been the end of it. Like the end of struggles, of problems and anything. But somebody, like for a younger person might feel like, maybe if I get this or get that, I might figure my life out. You never. So, but then I would go back to the first thing you mentioned about identity, which when you have time, we'll actually get to do another episode about that, because I would like you to share that story of the struggle with the identity to really help someone to unveil the darkness they are in their intrusive thoughts, which they have not been able to like air out to anybody. Like this, I struggle with my body image, looking at other beautiful girls or beautiful guys that, their body shape or height or whatever. I don't have what they have. those are things that actually hit back at the identity of any any young person. Because at the end of the day, it's hard for you to tell them, oh, your identity is in Christ. Like you said, it doesn't feel real, because how? Then why am I looking this way?
Yeah.
Why did he make me this way? Why did he make my body like this? Look at this other person. The shape is different. Why is my shape different from them? You are telling me that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, but I don't feel like that. So how can you help me with my feelings? Which, when we get to sit again, we definitely go into that, because I know that's a deeper topic that if you want to delve into it, the issue of identity most times bounce back to the perspective, and how you're thinking about you. And the only thing I would drop here right now for the context of this conversation, because it leads back to affecting other areas of your life, of you feeling like, I really want to understand what is going on, have details, have that, which we already talked about, that there's no guarantee in this life.
Yeah.
As we're living, there's no guarantee that if you trust God, that things will work out. Or if you don't trust God, things will work out. The only guarantor in life is God. So if you say I don't want to trust God, then your choice. If you trust Him, it's not also a guarantee that, like, God didn't say, once you trust me. Of course, there are promises in the Bible. I'm not like, I don't want somebody to get me out of point. There are promises in the Bible that definitely there is reward. Like Bible says in Hebrews 11, that they that diligently seek God will be rewarded. There's a reward for diligently seeking God, because nobody seeks God in vain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you seek God because you know He has the power to transform your life and take you to where He's taking you to. But in the process, which we don't talk about, nobody gets to know, or you talk about it like a puzzle. You don't have any full picture of anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it was a human puzzle, you have everything, you have all the pictures. You are the one picking it to fix,
and you have the picture. You know what it's going to look like.
Picture.
Yeah.
Then in your life, who has the script? God. Has He shared it with you? No. If He shares it with you, you run. If God showed Joseph what he was going to go through, give him the full picture, and he saw the map of his life. From here, your brother will hate you. They're throwing you to prison. When the father gave him that bread to go and give, he will change the direction. He will not go.
Yeah.
He will change the direction of his destiny. He will just be like, me? Being thrown into the pit and sold naked. You know, the way they sold them. I don't want to go into that, but we're going to talk about the identity thing, because it makes you struggle with even having to believe that there's a future ahead there for you. And Job said that a tree cut down, there's more hope for a tree cut down if it's not uprooted. Because at the scent of water, it will revive.
Yes.
So which means you might feel like your life is like confused, cut down, depressed, sad. I don't see any headway. The tree cut down is like that. There's no headway for that tree. No leaf. Where am I going to bear leaf? Look at other trees with leaves. And look at how they are dancing when the wind is blowing. I've been cut down here. But just give it time. At the scent of water, it starts sprouting. And before you know, give it some years. It might take time. Definitely, it might take time. Time is a factor. But it's actually been a beautiful conversation with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. So, I would like to have you again next time when
Okay.
you're free. If you're not opposed to coming again to share the part of the identity, you can talk around that to really help younger people, because I'm really invested and interested in younger people and seeing them like get off of this darkness that is overwhelming already with social media and everything. There's a lot of
There are
darkness.
lots of influences,
and
lots of
a lot
voices even.
Yeah, there are.
So and I'm really grateful, to have another time, because to be honest, I'm still piecing my puzzle together.
It's okay.
So I'm very hopeful that the next time we do converse, there'll be a lot more material to work with.
So,
Yes.
but don't just focus on the materials, focus on the process. The process is most important than the material.
I'll keep that in mind. It's sometimes it's struggle because we're trying to look at finished products. But yes, I'll do my best to. It's best to be as vulnerable as it comes.
Yeah.
Because it's like some transparency through the process.
Yeah,
so
because
it's
people
beautiful.
get to learn how you are, what headspace are you in while you're walking through this. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for watching this conversation. I love you so much. Take a moment and share with me what stood out for you in today's episode of Godly Conversations podcast. It is going to help someone who is listening and maybe going through the comments to relate with what they are learning also. And I want you to do one other thing for me. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. That is your way of supporting this podcast. And one more thing, I want to see you in the next episode, just right here.